Hey everybody, this is Dream, and I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. We've got a gigantic NBA slate today. I'm playing this slate really light because the pricing on the slate is just really ugly. Uh, so without further ado, let's get into it though. Let's get into the injury report first. So we're going to start with the 76ers with Embiid, Harden, Maxey, and Thibault all out. That does open up a lot of options at those positions. For the Magic, Carter Jr., Okeke are both questionable, and Anthony's out. For the Blazers, Eubanks is questionable, and Lillard is out. For the Knicks, Robinson, Reddish, and Rose are all questionable. For the Pacers, Jackson and Nembhard are questionable, and then Duarte's out. For the Rockets, Green is probable, Fernando is questionable, and Tate is out. For the Wizards, Beal, Morris, and Hachimura are all questionable. For the Heat, Bam is probable, Hero is questionable, Highsmith is probable, Vincent and Dedmon are questionable, and Butler is out. A lot of injuries to keep an eye out there. For the Cavs, Love and LeVert are out. For the Bucks, Holiday is probable, Connaughton is questionable. For the Thunder, Muscala is out. For the Pelicans, Murphy is questionable, and McCollum is out. For the Grizzlies, Bane is out, and Conchar is questionable. For the Lakers, LeBron is questionable, Beverly is out, and Davis is probable. For the Spurs, Collins is questionable. For the Pistons, Cunningham, Bay, and Stewart are out. And then Ivy, Hayes, and Diallo are all questionable. That would open up a lot if those guys end up being out. For the Suns, Chris Paul is out, and Cam Johnson's out. For the Jazz, Conley is out. For the Nuggets, Jokic is probable. Porter Jr. is questionable, and Highland is out. And for the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard and PG-13 are out, and so is Kennard being out. There's a ton of injuries today. It's surprising that there's really not that much value considering the injury report to me, but like I said, I'm playing this slate lightly. It's kind of a rough one from that perspective, and there's so many injuries that we're going to have to wait to find information on as well. So let's go ahead and get into the players I do like, though. We're going to start with Jose Alvarado for Pelicans. Seems like a good play today with CJ McCollum out. He played pretty solid even off the bench lately. He's not had too many terrible games when he's getting over 20 minutes, and so I do like him in this matchup, especially if he starts, which he should. Then we'll look at Terrence Mann here for the Clippers. He's been one of the few guys on the Clippers that seems to play relatively consistently, despite the fact that he plays inconsistent minutes. When he gets the opportunity, he seems to take advantage of it, so I do like him in this matchup, especially if he ends up starting. Obviously, if he doesn't start, then that would change it, but he should be starting in this one. Then we'll look at Colin Sexton for Utah. He's in an interesting spot here. He's just too cheap for what he can do. And with Conley out, he should start, and if that's the case, then he's going to be a really good play on the slate. Then Shake Milton for Philadelphia. He's been playing really solid starting for them, and his price point, while it has came up a lot, is still a little bit too cheap for what he's been doing. But he's no longer like a super value play. He's just a good, decent look at, somebody to take a consideration on. Klay Thompson's another guy that's in that situation. He's been wildly inconsistent this year. His price point, though, is still pretty good for what he can do. You just have to make sure Steve Kerr doesn't have any minutes limit on him like he does some days. So he should look like a decent play on the slate if he does get the full opportunity. Then we look at Jordan Clarkson for Utah. His shots, attempts, and stuff have actually risen since Conley's been out. And I expect that to continue here. His price point, while it is up, is still pretty good for what his potential is in this matchup and the opportunity he has. And then finally, Jaylen Brown here for Boston. His price point is obviously pretty solid and stays around the same place. And he has 50 fantasy point upside, which he definitely has in this matchup against Sacramento. And he's one of my favorite expensive plays on the slate. Then we'll look at Draymond Green here for Golden State. He's been playing extremely well when he gets full complement of minutes, but he is streaky and inconsistent because, his minutes fluctuate, and he's not a score-first guy. He's getting rebounds and assists mostly for those points. I can't believe I'm going to mention Ben Simmons again, but in the last 4 or 5 games, he's really paid off. He's been playing really good. Uh, I continue to think it's fool's gold. His price has popped up again, but heck, as long as he's hitting in the high 30s, low 40s, he's somebody you got to take a look at the price points he's at, even though his price has popped up quite a bit. Then we'll look at Norman Powell here for the Clippers. He's another guy for the Clippers that seems to be pretty decently consistent, despite the inconsistent minutes and stuff that the Clippers give players. He's been okay when Oliver, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard are both out, and that's what the situation is, so I think he's a viable play on the slate. Patrick Williams for Chicago. Now, he's not somebody that's going to get you, 40 fantasy points likely, but he's getting in the mid-20s just about every game, and he's had a couple exceptions, but overall, I think he has the opportunity, and he plays plenty of minutes where he gets the opportunity to get into those mid-20 points, and this is a good matchup for him to do so. And then Jared Vanderbilt for Utah. His price point is pretty good for what he does, but he is extremely inconsistent. He goes up and down stats-wise, and so, it's got to be a game where he's going to get more shots and rebounds and stuff in order to pay off here. But overall, his price point is still pretty good, and he's got a good matchup here where he has the opportunity to do well. At center, we have Kelly Olynyk for the Jazz as well. Another good position option for them. Now, the problem with the Jazz is that all they've got, big guys kind of rotate in and out. And so some guys take over each game, and some guys don't. But he's usually one of the more consistent guys. But his price is up, so it's not super ideal. But he's still a viable option at center just because there's not a whole lot of good viable options. Then we'll look at Jalen Duren here for Detroit. Now, he's been pretty consistent at getting at right around 20 fantasy points coming off the bench with Stewart out. So obviously, we want him to be in that situation. But I would prefer him if he would get like a spot start. Nikola Vucevic, he has been very inconsistent this season. Not our typical Vucevic that we like. But his price point is still pretty solid, and he's been better lately. And his price point is reasonable enough in a plus matchup where we could utilize him. And this is kind of the situation where I do like to use him. And my probably safest play at center is Al Horford, assuming he's going to play a full complement of minutes, which he should. He's been pretty solid as of late. He's had a couple bad games, but overall his price point is still pretty fair for what he does. And he has 35 fantasy point upside, especially in this matchup. So with that said, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. Obviously, there's a ton of injuries that are going to make or break the slate as we get closer to the lot. But we do have some good options here available already. So let me know in the comments what you think, and have a nice day, guys.